three players I think is a big question, and they're coming from nowhere. And sort of no matter how good it is, you know, I hesitate a little bit. I mean, if you're 10x, it's dramatically different, right? It can be, but I think again, this is where it's a different kind of law of numbers than the big data thing. But the network effects thing is very powerful in these worlds, and it's a little bit different with physical goods. But the other part of this is a network effects is that that distribution channels were going to matter more or less. It was going to be open to everybody. I think distribution channels actually matter more. I mean, even as pathetic an example as the New York Times homepage site. I mean, you can placement. If you're not on the homepage, heaven help them finding you, right? It's not. It is real. And doing stuff on Google and antitrust because it's coming to fruition again. Going back to people I talked to who broke in, and this isn't. We're not really going after Google, but it's life in Google's world, right? And go back to people who really broke in with Google, AdWords and somewhat organic search. There's a kid who came out of Blackstone's, rescued the family nut business in Newark, all through online. It was a little shop, in a declining area. And I talked to him recently. He said, could never do it again. And never break through in the way we did. Because the distribution channels are more settled than they were. It's a big person's game. So that's a different, I worry about the openness issues, and I think there should be openness for sort of innovation and invention, and I think it's less so than it once was.
Well, so there are these barriers. I think it's maybe partly why, when I was trying to make myself useful, I looked at working with mutual funds, et cetera, because it's an open exchange, and so if you're good, you can just kind of jack into the exchange and do your thing. Advertising has become that way because of exchanges evolving in advertising too. Some of these other areas, I don't even like what you were, Chris, talking about with analyzing voice calls. I mean, that's not the same, right? You have to convince layers of executives this is a good idea. We should spend all this money on this system, and then there's so many layers of process to change. I wonder when you look at kind of the way those things end up kind of to fruition. In some of the more interesting stories, I guess, is it months? Is it years between some of these companies kind of having the idea and having the prototypes versus kind of getting rolled out?
Well, yeah, if it's B2B, it's years. I mean, in most cases. If it's a consumer-facing product like Twitter, well, who knows, right? Like, it can go very quickly. But, as Steve was saying, all of these things aren't attached to meritocracies. It's not the best product always wins, and I think anyone who works with